Welcome to this section of our problem solving video, and in this video we'll be finding the positive square root of 40 minus 20 root 3, and this is under surd, and I hope we all sit and learn this together. So the solution, this is an abbreviation for it. Now when we talk about finding the positive square roots of a Surdic value, now we're talking about finding the value that when you square it gives you this result. So now we assume that 40 minus 20 root 3 is equal to square root of a minus square root of b. 40 root 3 is equal to square root of a minus square root of b. But don't forget, I said that the value that when you square it gives you 40 minus 20 root 3 is the positive square root of 40 minus 20 root 3. So therefore, we can say that square root of a minus square root of b all square is equal to 40 minus 20 root 3. So now let's expand the left hand side, which is square root of a minus square root of b all square, and we'll be having square root of a minus square root of b times square root of a minus square root of b. I'll be breaking this down to the simplest of understanding for everyone, so that you don't find any part of this video difficult. So we go through the expansion. Square root of a times square root of a gives us what? A. And square root of a times minus square root of b gives us minus square root of ab. The two values inside the square root multiplies themselves. Square root of b times square root of a gives us minus square root of ab, and minus square root of b times minus square root of b. Don't forget, minus times minus gives us plus, so we'll be having plus b. Don't forget, b times b is b square, and the square cancels the square roots, and that is how we are having b, and yeah, that's how we are having a here. And this will be equal to what? 40 minus 20 root 3. So we can see that we are having like terms here. Square root of ab, square root of ab minus minus. So this has a coefficient of -1, and this has a coefficient of -1. And these two gives us what? -2. So we say a plus b minus 2 square root of what? ab. And it is equal to 40 minus 20 root 3. So now this is what we do now. We can see that, look from the left hand side and also from the right hand side. We observe that a plus b can be equated to 40, and since this part is having a square root, 2 minus 2 root ab, we can also equate it to minus 20 root 3. So we say therefore a plus b equal to 40. We call that equation 1. So we have gotten our equation 1, a plus b equal to 40. That's we equated the left hand side and the right hand side. So also we also equate this left hand side and the right hand side in terms of minus 2 square root of ab equal to minus 20 square root of 3. So we can divide both sides by -2. We divide both sides by -2, and when this cancels this, here we'll be left with square root of ab equal to, now when -20 cancels -2, we'll be left with 10. So we're having here 10 root 3. So now what do we do here next? We are having square roots in the left hand side, and we're also having square root also attached to the right hand side. So the next thing we do is that we square both sides, both the left hand and the right hand side. So square both sides. Square both sides. Now don't forget, I've always told us that the square is always the square is always the antivirus of the square roots. So square both sides. So this will be all square, and this will be 10 root 3. This will be all square. So don't forget, the square is an antivirus of the square root, and also the square root is an antivirus of the square. So they cancel themselves. Same. And but this right hand side, so here we'll be left with AB. Now for the right hand side, 100 square times root 3 square. So for, let me give you a rough work here. So here we'll be having something like 10 square. Sorry, I said 100 square. 10 square times root 3 square. So for people that does not understand, this is what this expression here means. 10 square times root 3 square. So 10 square here is going to give us what? 100. And root 3 square, when the square cancels the square root, we are left with only 3. And this will be 100 times 3. Let me put it in the brackets. And definitely our AB will be equal to what? 300. So at this point, but before I finish this, let me call this equation 2. Let me call this equation 2, and I'll make A subject of the formula at this point. So therefore, A will be equal to 300 over B. I only divided both sides by B, and I'll call this equation 3. So what we do next is we put equation 3 into equation 1. So putting equation 3 into equation 1, equation 1 is what? A plus B. Now take a look at equation 1. A plus B equal to 40. So in terms of A, don't forget from our equation 3, we have said that A is equal to 300 over B. So we will replace 300 over B with A. We will replace A with 300 over B. So we say 300 over B plus B equal to 40. So we solve this from these points. Now we see that this is a fraction and this is a whole number. So we have to look for the LCM. So looking for the LCM of this plus this. So we'll be having the LCM to be, B will be the LCM. So B cancel B. We have what? We have 1, and 1 times 300 gives us 300. Then B cancel 1. Don't forget this is over 1. All integers are rational numbers. This is over 1. B divide 1 gives you B, and B times B gives you what? B square. And this is equated to 40. So when we cross multiply, we'll see that we are having 300 plus B square. 300 plus B square equal to 40B. So this can come over, and rearranging this expression, we'll be having B square minus 40B plus 300 equal to what? 0. And this has led us to a quadratic equation. So now we know the steps of quadratic equation. I have solved this over and over and over. Now we multiply the first term and the last term. So multiplying the first term and the last term, we'll be having 300B square. Now we look for two factors of 300. Let me leave the B square for now. Two factors of 300, and when we multiply them, it gives us 300, and when we add them, it gives us 40. So let's say 10 and 30. 10 and 30 should be correct, but because of the negative value attached to the 40, so both values has to be what's negative. So we say minus 10B and minus 30B. Don't forget that minus 10 times minus 30 gives us minus 300, and also minus 10 plus minus 30 C gives us same thing as minus 10 minus 30, which is what? Minus 40. So at this point, we replace the two factors with the middle value, and here we'll be having B square minus 10B minus 30B plus 300 equal to 0. So we group them, and we'll be having here b square minus 10b as the first group, and here we'll be having, I'll prefer using, you can still use plus, you can still use minus, but let's say I'm using, let me use plus here so that we don't get confused, because this 30 here is negative, so most of us don't get confused. Minus 30b, don't forget, even though this plus multiplies through this bracket, it still remains the same, equal to 0. So now we factor out common factors from here. We can see that between b square and minus 10b, b is common, so we say b into b minus 10. This expression here actually gives us this, and plus, okay, let me know is a plus first. This is negative, so let me use minus. I'll use minus instead of using plus, so I say minus 30. Let me use minus 30 into, this will give me b, and this will give me minus 10. This expression here is the same as this, because minus 30 times b will give us minus 30b, and minus 30 times minus 10 will give us plus 300, equal to 0. And what we will have to do now is, we have gotten these values and these two brackets are the same. It means that our factorization method of solving the quadratic equation is really correct. So we pick one of these brackets here and we say b minus 10, and we pick these two factors, b minus 30, and these are equated to what? 0. Now we say b minus 10 is equal to 0, or b minus 30 is equal to 0, and therefore the value of b will be what? The value of b will be 10, or the value of b here will be what? 30. And we can call this equation 4, and we can call this equation 4. So now we say let's put equation 4 into equation 3. Now let us put equation 4 into equation 3. Let's put equation 4 into 3. Now I want us to see our equation 3 again. So this is equation 3, a equal to 300 all over b. So don't forget that equation 4 has two values, as b equal to 10 and b equal to 30. So this will be a equal to, anywhere you see b, you put 10 or you put 30. So 300 over 10, or a equal to 300 over 30. So therefore also our a will be equal to 300 over 10 gives us 30, or our a will be equal to 300 divided by 30 gives us what? 10. But there's something I forgot to show us from the beginning. Now I'm bringing us from the beginning, where we assume that 40 minus 20 root 3 equal to root a minus root b. Now, following this condition, following this assumption, there is a condition that a is greater than b. Following the assumption, there is a condition that a is greater than b. So therefore, this leaves us in a position where we have the positive square roots of this Surdic expression to be square root of 30 minus square root of 10. So now therefore our value, the value of a, and this is equal to square root of a minus square root of b. Just at the beginning where we had, so this expression now, this square root of a minus square root of b now is what? Square root of 30 minus square root of 10. And if we square this, if we square square root of 30 minus square root of 10, we will have this value. I don't know if you guys want us to prove it here, but I think I should just do a quick proof of this. So I will not explain much. So quickly check. So now don't forget we said here, this is what we are working on. We are trying to show that this is equal to this. So our square root of a, square root of 30 minus square root of 10 all square. Now let's see what it gives to us. So this will be square root of 30 minus square root of 10 times square root of 30 minus square root of 10. So quick multiplication. So this times this, square root of 30 times square root of 30 gives us what? Square root of, it doesn't give us square root. The square root cancels the square root and we have what? 30. Because same thing as saying 30 times 30, it gives you the value of 30 times 30, and the square root of that value still gives you 30. Then same, quick check, no much explanation. This times this gives us square root of 30 minus square root of 10 gives us minus square root of 300, and this gives us minus square root of 300, and this times this gives us plus 10. So we continue. So here we'll be having 30 plus 10 will be giving us 40, and this minus this will be giving us minus 2 roots 300 minus 2 roots 300. So following our sword, so breaking down 300. Now let me use 100 times 3. 100 times 3 should be the perfect value for this. So we can say that we can break down square root of 300 to be equal to square root of 100 times 3, and which is same thing as saying square root of 100 times square root of 3. So now we can see that the square root of 100 here is what? 10. But let me write it down here. 40 minus 2 into square root of 100 times 3. Knowing that the square root of 100 is 10, so we have here to be 40 minus 2 into 10. Then the root still remains with 3. Root 3. So minus 2 times 10 gives us what? Minus 20. So we see that 40 minus 20 root 3, and it takes us back to show that the value square root of 30 minus square root of 10 is a positive square root of what? 40 minus 20 root 3. And that will be all for this video. Please don't fail to like if you have learned a lot. Don't fail to like. Don't fail to drop your question if you have any challenge at any point. And please don't fail to subscribe to the channel, importantly. And don't forget our MathTech private tutoring services is still ongoing. We have good and experienced teachers for mathematics, for programming, and also to stand as an academic coach. And we are also good at giving academic therapies. So we would like you to give us a call with the WhatsApp number you see on the banner on the screen, and please enroll for the MathTech private tutoring services, and see you in our next class.